Good morning, everyone. You are not just watching any episode of the Engineer Different podcast, but you're watching the very first of hopefully many, many more episodes. So, of course, a very, very warm welcome to you all. On the Engineer Different podcast, we are bringing conversations with the future of STEM from underrepresented backgrounds, cultures, and perspectives. If you look at organizations like Nesby, ColorStack, SHPE, and many other amazing organizations, there are so many talented, incredible people that we want to bring straight to your fingertips. So if you want to miss out on the insight that could actually fuel your own journey, don't subscribe. Otherwise, you know exactly what to do. I'm your host for today, Mamadou Ba, and I'm here to give a very warm welcome to our very first guest and a great friend of mine, Derek McTume. Derek is currently an incoming second-year student at Purdue University who is doing a double major in computer science and artificial intelligence with a minor in mathematics. His academic excellence has helped him place from not just the top 10 in his high school, but he has continued throughout university, despite being in one of the most nation's rigorous computer science programs, and he's been on the dean's list for all his semesters so far, and earning the Black Caucus recognition at Purdue. Absolutely amazing, Derek. My question for you that I'd love to know, and I'm sure the audience can definitely want to know, how do you go about keeping such a consistent and well-performing academic performance throughout your time? Like, how do you go about doing so? What's the trick?
Well, well, before I answer that, I just want to say it's an honor to be here, to be the first one on this, man. I appreciate Mamadou.
Hey, of course, man.
Um,
Funnily enough, actually, I
yeah.
remember when I had the idea to start this podcast, right? I opened up my phone. I'm thinking like, who can I get and speak on this podcast? I kid you not. When I opened up the contacts apps, it didn't even show the list of names. Your name was already opened up for some whatever reason already. So I'm like, that's got to be a side. That's got to be a side. But
This
anyway.
guy, this guy, it's I'm from God, bro. Maybe I don't know, bro. That's funny. Okay, but what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, your academic performance is absolutely stellar. It's amazing, man. And I mean, I'm sure the audience would love to know, like, how do you go about keeping such a consistent academic performance, and not just like easy environments, but in difficult environments? How do you go about kids keeping not just a consistent, but a high performing academic performance?
Well, it's all about the little things, really. It's just adapting to whatever new situation you're in, because first starting out college, well, even high school, if you want to go back to high school, you start out and you become overwhelmed, really stressed out because everything's new challenges, all that. But it's all just about finding your way through it, and not just relying on yourself but on the people around you. Like in college, I was lucky enough to meet some really gifted, really nice people, really good friends who helped me out. We were studying together, walking through things together, and that just helped me like adapt to the environment around me.
So basically, you're saying like your network is your net worth, basically.
Yeah, yeah, just find a nice group of friends, and you learn stuff from each other. Like
Nah,
I remember with at exams, like how it normally goes. Like of course, first you study by yourself, but then you go and study with your friends to like test what you know, and plus because with your friends, it's not just work work work. It's a fun experience. So
right.
yeah, that definitely helped.
That's fair. That's fair. I see. Because definitely that's something that I feel a lot of people overlook. Like like people always say
Hmm.
you are a direct product of your environment, essentially. So I think even I agree with that 100% because if you were surrounding yourself with people that are like minded, people that want to do well, people that want to consistently
Hmm.
do good, and not just actually the people. Actually, I think that's something interesting too. If you're not just surrounding yourself with people, but everywhere you go is surrounding with success. For example, not just the people you speak with, but the content you consume, whether it's on social media or like the newsletters how you're reading,
Yeah.
updates how you're reading, videos how you're watching. That also can play a role into essentially that network of information that you are receiving to make yourself a better person. So really,
Hmm.
let's kind of take a step back, right? We're talking about college, we're talking about high school, but where did like so you are interested in artificial intelligence? You're doing a double major in
Hmm.
CS and AI. So where did this all start? Like where was the start of all this? Where did you get interested into it? How did you start, and how has your journey been throughout that process so far?
Video games. I'm
Fair
one of
enough,
I'm one
man.
of like every other CS student, I think, they get interested initially from like whatever like electronics or stuff. they have growing up.
Yeah.
So I play a lot of games, and my dad noticed this. My dad's he has a PhD in math. I have no clue what field, but he just
Fair
says
enough.
he has a PhD in math. But um, he first came to me. I was like really little. I think I was like 9 or 10. He's like, hey, you could learn programming. You can make a good career. And I thought I was interested in computers. I wanted to like make things. So that's where I first got interested in it. Later on, the part about with machine learning, the reason I wanted to go into machine learning was because I'm interested in robotics. I'm interested in creating perception systems for robots. So like helping robots like or organize the environment around them, navigate around in the environment around them, that type of stuff. So yeah, I mean that's essentially it, right there.
Ah, that's fair. I mean, because I know we chatted a little bit before the session, and I know you did take place in robotics. I
Hmm.
mean, we were both on the same robotics team in high school.
Yeah.
Shout out 6016. Let's go,
Hmm.
Tiger Robotics. Let's go. But how did that experience also help shape you into getting into CS and especially AI here at Purdue?
Well, it's hard to say exactly because I was on the team for 3 years, so a lot of stuff happened. Um, I think a lot of it was background knowledge, partly of how to work with teams on like big projects like that. And I'm still getting acclimated to like working with organizations on campus because first year, for me it was kind of like breaking in, like getting used to taking college level courses and a lot of them as well, like taking like a bunch of STEM courses in one semester. So I'm still like kind of getting my foot in there, but that type of background knowledge, working with other people, communicating with other people on complex projects, that's probably the one of the biggest experiences I got from that working on the robotics team in high school. Um, Besides that, in terms of interests, I think it's kind of like when you have a hunch that you might be interested in something, you know what I mean?
Right, right.
But yeah, you have to like go out and like kind of research, kind of find out exactly like what it means to work in that type of thing, you know what I mean? So like I felt like I was kind of interested in robotics, but like I didn't exactly know what it meant to be on a robotics team, what it meant to work on a robot and to create something new with other people. So that kind of like gave me that sort of experience. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah,
beginner's experience kind of gave me
yeah.
like that taste of what it would be like if I were to keep going with this. And I decided, man, this was awesome. I think I want to keep doing this. So um, that's the other really big thing I got out of that.
So I noticed you did mention about working on campus, right, and working with other teams and working with other people as you did in robotics.
Hmm.
So as you were going about adapting to say this college life, right, especially working with teams in because especially you remember it, our robotics team, it was pretty small, right? Talk about 10 to 20
Yeah, it
people.
was small.
Yeah, it wasn't very small.
Yeah.
And how much programmers were on that team? It was literally what, one of us, two of us,
It
with
was a
like
handful.
three other like freshmen. So like it wasn't necessarily a big
Yeah.
team. So I'm interested in knowing
Hmm.
how did you go about adapting into more of a larger environment, in especially in the college setting, not just working with teams, but academically, projects wise, socially. How did you go around adapting with these
Hmm.
people to be able to not just necessarily just grow, but just to be a part of the community? How did you go about doing so?
Um, Man, I mean, it just kind of all happened. Like, I've never really been very good at meeting new people. So like my small talk is not where it probably should be.
Fair, fair.
Um, but how it kind of all worked is like, you're just in classes, you're in different settings, and you realize, you share more, or you have more similarities with the people around you, sitting next to you in these classes and all these different places, than you have differences. And that just kind of breaks down walls. And once you end up talking with people, you just meet people. Um, that's kind of how it was. I think one of my good friends, like what, or basically all my friends I have in CS, it was just walking into a class. talking with them for a little bit, and then we just went from there. You just meet like a ton of people. You make your own little circle, and it's really nice. And I think that's how I basically met everybody on campus. I didn't really go out of my way to meet people. It just sort of happened.
Right, kind of a more natural connection, And I really like what you said there. You have more in common than you have differences.
Amadou, you there?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here. You here?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, as I was saying, right.
Hmm.
So you have, as you said, you have more in commons as you have in differences, which
Yeah.
that's definitely a big point. How did you come about, realizing that? Because you did mention that before your small talk wasn't as good, or you had trouble meeting people. What was kind of that? Excuse me. What was kind of that type of, you know, that icebreaker you would say, or what was that mental block you had to bring down to be able to just open up and be like, hey, and dive into your comments with other people's.
As far as mental block, and this goes both for just casual settings and also in environments where you're trying to like learn, right? So like let's say you go to like supplemental instruction or you go to office hours or something like that, or you're in these teams that I was talking about before, working on something. I think the big mental block was kind of understanding that you don't know everything, or that you don't know most things, right? And
Right.
that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like I used to have this mindset where if I get something wrong, even in high school, where if I get something wrong, if I don't understand something, you know you kind of got to like beat yourself up a little bit to get yourself stressed out. So then you're like, oh, this is wrong, I got to go fix it. But that's just not healthy. Like that is
Mm.
just not a healthy way to go about things. It's a lot more helpful to say to yourself, well, I don't understand this, and the person next to me might understand it, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm worse or anything. Like that just means I gotta talk to them and find out where the gaps in my knowledge are. So that was probably the biggest thing, just kind of understanding that even though like you might be confused, you might not know things, that's completely fine. And other people and other resources are there to help you out. And that kind of helped me make connections even more with people, because it's kind of understanding that everything around you is to help you learn. It's not there to make you feel bad or anything like that.
Right. Wow. That's damn, bro. That's dude. That was that's the best one of the best things I've heard in a while, man. That was favorite tier, man. Because I see it so much with so many like very brilliant individuals, even up here in RIT. They're
Mhm.
such smart people, but the thing is that what gets them the most is is they're not okay with not knowing things, right? And I feel like
Exactly.
at this stage, it's important to be okay with not knowing things. You're not gonna
Mhm.
understand something the first time. You're not gonna learn something the first time. If you get to something the first time, right, you are going to suck at it. You will suck at it, and
You're
that's
gonna
just
underestimate it.
exactly you're gonna suck at it.
Yeah.
There's something bad about it. Being bad at something the first time
Hmm.
does not necessarily dictate your ability, your knowledge, and your capability to actually learn things, right? And I see so much time,
Hmm.
especially in my intro to like CS1, CS2 classes, right? So much people they
Yep.
see the new concepts, they learn new concepts, right? They see it and they're bad at it, and they just accept that they're bad at it, and they just accept like, okay, I can't figure this out, right? And
Hmm.
it's super critical that you're not just saying, okay, I don't know how to do this. It's not I don't know, but how can I know how to do this, right? It's that mindset
Exactly.
shit that people need to make sure you're turning around, because if you suck at, just imagine if like Messi, for example. I'm a big soccer guy. We're gonna talk Messi, right?
Hmm.
Say for example, Messi
Of course.
back in Copa America. Actually, let's go back to the 2014 World Cup, right? His one-on-one against the goalkeeper.
Hmm.
This is overtime. He needs to score. It's not a golden goal, but it's overtime. He needs to score to put them up 2-1, right? He's on his left foot.
Hmm.
Messi is left foot. Like, dude, there's worse things. If I have Messi on its left foot going up against the goal, I'm about to put $1 million. He's about to score the goal, right? because
Hmm.
it's Messi, but he missed wide. Just imagine if Messi just gave up there, right? Imagine if he just said like, okay, that's my,
Exactly.
my career is over. I made something that I thought I could do, but I'm missing. Just imagine he just left
Hmm.
there. There is so much more. If you look at in the next like 10 years extra of his career, he won the World Cup like what 8 years later. Just imagine if he gave up. So I think people need to take the
Hmm.
mindset of being okay with not being good at something at first, right? Because if
Exactly.
you show up every single day, as soon as you get a challenge, if you show up and be like, "Hey, okay, I'm not good at this right now, but that's okay." I think people put hard expectations,
Hmm.
like you said, being healthy, right? And it's not something that's very healthy. Putting these expectations to be able to understand something the first time, especially when it seems like, because I think like the tough thing is right is that it seems like everyone else understands what's going on, and you're the only one that doesn't. Have you felt like that like throughout?
Exactly.
Have you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Like all the time. Like that is that's the only constant in college. Everything else is changing, but that's the one thing that doesn't change, my friend.
so
But
how do you
but
go?
like you said, it's about. Oh, wait.
No,
What was your
you can
question?
keep going. You're good, man. You're good. Keep going.
Oh, but like you said, with making mistakes, it's not about intellectualizing, how everybody else is better than you, how you're
Right.
lacking. It's about you have to put your thoughts to action. You have to focus on action because that's the other thing.
Just a quick editor's note here. If you're currently enjoying the podcast so far, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. This helps boost our visibility and make a positive impact to many, all because you click 3 buttons. Also, if you would like to share your journey, experience, advice, tips within the field of STEM, feel free to fill out the form in the description. We'd love to hear from you and hopefully feature you on an upcoming episode. Now, back to the show.
So as I was saying, my biggest regret in high school, right, was that I thought I could just prioritize my grades, or that I should just prioritize my grades and like not really do much other stuff. Like I did robotics, maybe I did like a couple other like pretty simple clubs, pretty easy clubs to do, but I didn't really go about trying to accomplish what goals I had, what ideas I had, trying to bring my ideas to life. And then you get to college, right? And then you learn that everybody else was able to do what you did and more. Like I was meeting people who, they had already done some of the stuff like that I had always dreamt of doing, and they're telling me about. I'm like, oh yes. I'm just thinking to
Right.
myself, man, I could have done this if I actually, if I saw the opportunity, I took hold of it. So a lot of it, getting acclimated to college, was understanding that you can't change the mistakes you made,
Correct.
right? And you can spend as much time as you want, like ruminating or intellectualizing about how you could have done this, you could have done that. But that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help you. The thing that you have to do is, instead of thinking about things that you can't change, think about the things that you can change. Think about the actions that you can take to make tomorrow better than today. That's the real stuff you should focus on, instead of focusing on whatever mistakes you make.
Exactly. Like they say, the best time to do something was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. I
Exactly.
love that quote so much. So
Hmm.
and kind of talking about how you kind of put more into perspective, right? Not just focus on the
Hmm.
grades, but your impact, what you do. So, what are some things on campus that you are involved in that kind of has helped you accomplish that new mindset of putting things into action?
Well, towards so a lot of the stuff I started getting involved with was towards the end of last semester, so around when summer started.
Okay.
But I got involved, and there's an machine learning club called ML at Purdue. I started going to their talks for like research papers, because what people will do, they'll go through whatever research papers they find interesting, and then they'll have someone like present it and kind of like talk about it, present it to everybody else. Um, and because I want to go to grad school, right? So
Right.
I thought this would be like a really cool idea to like get some experience, because there's even grad students there to like
Yeah.
talk to grad students, talk to people in my field. Um, I even learned that they actually do projects, which I mean seems kind of obvious. It's an entire club of machine learning to do projects,
Right.
but
Fair.
but
Fair.
yeah. So that's my plan for for next semester to do to get into a project, I was also part of a robotics team, though I haven't really been getting involved as much as I should be because I was worried, or at least during the school year, I was really worried about my grades. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna fall back, focus on that, focus on getting myself right, um, getting the right headspace as well, because that was also when I was still going through everything I was talking about. So that's another thing that I plan on participating a lot more once the semester starts. Another thing I got involved. I also sent some emails out to some professors, though a little bit late, for research opportunities. That's another thing. But you kind of see how like this is all stuff that ideas that I might have had before, but it's really gratifying to see myself like actually go out and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not just have it
And
like
and
as
I
a
think,
number on a piece of paper.
hmm yeah, exactly. Or just like an idea that you write down and just forget about.
Right.
Um, Along with that, I'm doing like my own little projects, even if they're small projects, like you have to start somewhere. So like I made a what is it? A convolutional neural network to like identify like different images of birds and stuff.
So let's
Like
let's let's break that
and
down a little bit. Let's break that down. So what is
yeah,
a convo? You try- lost me
a
there.
convolutional neural network.
It's
You
exactly.
can abbreviate it to CNN. Yeah, it's essentially a model that applies filters in order to. It's used for image classification.
Okay.
It's just like a deep learning model for that a lot of people use for image classification. Um, like for example, what is it? Self-driving cars. That's an example. That
Okay.
there's an application, but because you have to be able to like understand what the car is looking at. You know what I mean? Be able to like pick apart the details and the stuff you're getting from the camera. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So
So,
yeah. So oh, you go.
well, I was just kind of was interested in knowing, right? Because talk about convolutional
Yeah.
neural networks and that kind of stuff. All essentially has to do. I mean, I'm a cybersecurity guy. Cybersecurity, that's my bread and butter. I
Hmm.
have very, very minimal experience with AI. I mean, I've used ChatGPT. I've actually one time I tried training my own local model, right? Local LLM,
Yeah.
and I was using
Was that all of them?
Oh yeah, I was using Olama. That's what I was
Oh,
using, or Olama. It's one of the
okay.
two. I don't remember. I can't remember if it's
Hmm.
Olama that ran Llama or if it was Llama that ran Olama. It's one of the ways going around, right? Because I have my home
Yeah.
lab and I want to create an AI agent for kind of a security operations center AI agent for my lab itself.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but
Yep.
I mean, the processing power to actually train the models itself was pretty frustrating.
Hmm.
I tried using what Axolotl, I
Yeah.
believe it is, for kind of quick fine tuning, but that didn't work very well because
Hmm.
there was a lot of dependencies that had to be installed beforehand. So I was just kind of losing my mind
Yeah.
downstairs in the basement while I'm trying to get this whole thing set up. So that's kind of leading to my question is like,
Yeah.
what exactly is artificial intelligence? Like, what is it like? What is it to you? What is it?
Well,
What?
well, artificial intelligence, it defines things that mimic human intelligence. So a lot of the stuff that you see, like ChatGPT and stuff like that,
Right.
um, that those are, I would say those are more specific examples of machine learning, which are systems that are able to learn by themselves, right?
Okay. So
Because
what's
artificial
what would you
intelligence
say is
is very broad.
that difference is between AI and ML? Because I feel it's a term that people tend to intertwine. But what's the difference? What's the difference?
Mhm. Well, AI could be anything that mimics human being.
Okay.
So trying to think of an example. Let's say very broad. So hopefully this is a valid example. Let's say you like make a very simple program. Like I made like a little when I was like 10 for a math fair. I made like a little Python program that would like ask you a bunch of customization options to make like spirals and stuff with like turtle graphics.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that menu like in the terminal where it's like asking you stuff like almost like a person, like you can almost imagine it like a person coming up to you and asking those options.
Okay.
That meant, I think that's a valid example of AI.
Yeah.
Not really.
I mean, it's definitely
Yeah, but
it seems pretty good.
yeah, Yeah, like you get my point though. It doesn't have to be something that learns by itself. Like it can have fixed outcomes and still be an example of artificial intelligence. That I don't think is a very good example. There's better examples. I think decision trees could be one potentially. That's when like let's say you have like a bunch of different like decisions. So like let's say you're trying to categorize an animal. The
Okay.
first decision could be is it an like you have an image of of a I don't know, a horse. The
Okay.
first question can be like, is this an animal? Yes. Does it have four legs? Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, you know, it keeps going. Like decision
Yeah.
trees, those are like fixed. They're fixed. The model doesn't like it doesn't learn that. Those are like fixed options. Whereas with a machine learning model like CNN or LLMs, the entire point is you have data, you give it data, and it kind of from it kind of learns the patterns and stuff that it finds in the data in order to create a prediction. And it's almost like it's creating its own algorithm, right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
In order to fit the data that you give it. So that would be the distinction.
Okay, I mean, that's a fantastic breakdown.
Hmm.
Definitely, because I know a lot of people would tend to confuse it too, and obviously the way that they
Hmm.
are kind of marketed, especially in the buzzwords fields of things, like it's
Yeah.
they're intertwined. But there's one thing even if I didn't know the specific differences, I knew that they were different. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's definitely a fantastic distinction. So that kind of leads me
Hmm.
to wonder, right? How did you?
Hmm.
What did you go? What ways did you go about trying to learn like artificial intelligence and machine learning? Like, what was your methods of learning? It could be class, it could be outside of class. What was like, say, like your first encounter, right, of actually trying to learn it? Some struggles that you had.
First encounter.
Yeah, what was?
Mhm.
Yeah, let's start from there. What would you
Yeah.
say is like your first encounter with artificial intelligence?
Um, Man, I'm trying to remember. The first one that I can think of trying to like make a model by myself was the summer before last year. So summer of
So
yeah, summer of
senior
last
year,
year.
summer.
I
Okay.
said it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was on campus because I was doing summer classes,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, I wanted to try making like a simple model with PyTorch. That's a library
Yeah. PyTorch.
um,
Okay.
for yeah, machine learning library. Um, and I tried doing it, and I had no clue what I was doing. That's just kind of how it goes with it. Like you just I just kind of tried jumping in and trying to learn what every single line of code did and how it ties back in. But the thing that is simultaneously frustrating but also really cool about the field is that even if you just try to go in and implement it, that doesn't mean that you know what's going on. You have to have a lot of background knowledge to really
Right.
understand what's happening. So after that, my new strategy is okay, I'm going to do this stuff, sure, but then I'm also going to like read books and some papers to like build up that background, build up
Background
that
knowledge.
intuition. Because there's a lot of theory and stuff to know about
So you did mention background knowledge, right? So
it.
as you said, AI is not just AI itself. You can run the AI, but it doesn't necessarily mean you understand how the AI works itself. So what are some of that kind
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
background theory, background knowledge that you have to go through and learn to get a bit of better understanding of the workings of artificial intelligence?
Well, the first thing that I focused on, and this was in a book on what was it? It was building models for linear and logistic regression in
Okay.
PyTorch. I forgot the name of the book. It's a really good book
If you
though.
find it, let me know so I can
And
link in the description.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. But it was just kind of understanding like the process of how to train a model. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So like, screw like all the specifics because there's a bunch of different like things. So much. Like there's a bunch of different like decisions that go into making like training a model, like um and it all depends on the problem that you're trying to solve, right? But I was just trying to understand like the steps, the general steps you have to take in order to train a model so then I can do it in PyTorch. So I read this book and that kind of helped me understand how to train my CNN. Like I literally had the book open while I was making it after I
Wow.
read
Okay.
it. Yeah. That helped a lot. There's still a ton of stuff I don't understand, and linear and logistic regression. For the examples they had, they were pretty like how to say basic. Like it wasn't anything crazy. But there's a lot more complicated stuff. Like transformers, for example, the transformer architecture, that's something that's behind LLMs like ChatGPT. That is a lot more confusing, a lot more difficult. I once had a couple grad students try to explain it to me, and I was at some point I was just nodding like yes.
Yes.
Like,
just not a.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
a
I
lot.
totally don't get what you're saying, but I'm not anyways. Not fair enough.
Yeah, and it was at like 7 p.m. too. I just had classes, and I was like, yeah,
Oh man,
I'm
forget
kaput,
it.
bro. I don't know what they're saying.
Wow.
But the cool thing about it though, and I think this probably extends to like all STEM, is like even if you don't know something, it helps just to hear it because you never know when you're gonna hear it again. Like they were
Mm,
talking about like embeddings and stuff, like how like the architecture like embeds semantics for like words and stuff in a sentence, and I had
yeah.
no clue what they're talking about. And then this summer, I was watching videos on it again. I read a little bit of a paper. I need to go back and read more of it, or it's actually part of a book. But anyway, I heard it again. I was like, man, like they were telling me actually makes sense now because you're hearing it a second time.
Right. So you hear it at first, kind of get that background knowledge, but then coming back to it
Hmm.
again, that's where it starts clicking again.
Exactly.
Fair enough, man. So I noticed, right? You did mention that you when you work on trying to train that model, you had your book open with you,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
In the 21st century, that's not common. People don't really go to the libraries. People don't really grab books anymore. So
Yeah.
I find that absolutely fascinating that you're able to have that motivation, have that dose of discipline to be like, okay, and not just discipline, motivation, but the actual ethic to be able to let me open up this book. I have my book. I
Hmm.
have this side by side. How do you what kind of mental like because obviously to my mindset wise that's something that's extraordinary,
Hmm.
right? To be able to say like first of all you have that problem, right? But the methods which you go
Hmm.
about trying to solve it, as much as you're willing to go into an actual physical textbook to go around doing so. So how do you stay disciplined about that? What kind of mindset motivation do you have to go about doing that method of learning to be able to get good at what you do?
Well, it's just important to me, because learning this type of stuff, uh, it just brings me closer to my goals. And that discipline and that motivation you're talking about, that's really the hardest part about it. Because I genuinely believe that learning this stuff is the easy bit. Or sorry, not easy. It's simple. It's the simplest part of it. Because if you really enjoy learning it, then it doesn't really feel like work. You
Yeah,
know, you know what I mean?
correct.
Like we were talking about, you were telling me about your cybersecurity project
Right, right.
before this call, and I was like, this man's talking about all this. And it's like I can tell he's just enjoying it. He doesn't view it
Exactly.
as work. He's just doing it because he wants to do it.
Exactly.
Even if he's going to put it on his resume afterwards. Yeah. Um, it's the same thing. Like that's really the simple part of it. If you really enjoy doing something, um, once you get down and you're sitting down and you're doing it, you're just going to find ways to learn. The hard part about it, or the complicated part about it, is finding that discipline, finding that resolve to really do it. You know, because I was talking about as well. I play a lot of video games. I get distracted very easily. So yeah, it's just about trying to find ways um, to put those distractions aside and focus on what's really important to you. And that's not something that you really it's hard to say. It's not something it's not There's not like a specific action that you can do to like get better at that, you know what I mean?
Correct.
There's something in your brain you have to change. It's something in your mindset that you have to change. Um I'm sorry, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos about this.
No,
That
man,
does help as well. But
dude,
yeah.
bro, that input is fantastic, man. I'm telling you, keep going, man, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah. Um No, for anyone listening, if there's more information about it, a healthy gamer, he's a psychologist on YouTube. He makes a
Healthy
lot of
gamer
type of
GG.
YouTube.
Wait,
Yes,
is
yeah,
it?
yeah, him
Yeah,
exactly.
yes, dude.
Yeah, Dr.
Oh,
K, dude, I love him.
I remember. I don't know if you ever get a chance, right? One of my favorite podcasts
Hmm.
from Chris Williamson. It's called Modern Wisdom. I remember
Hmm.
one of the very first podcasts I've heard from Modern Wisdom, right? And I love this is a fantastic
Yep.
podcast. I definitely anyone that's watching this right now and listening to this, if you're not listening to Modern Wisdom, what are you doing, man? Same thing goes to with you, Derek. What are you doing? You need to hop on Modern
What am I
Wisdom.
doing, bro?
That's actually one of
Bro,
the
okay, I need to
very
write that
first
down.
you have to write it down because he's fantastic and he has
Yeah.
he does have a episode with Healthy Gamer GG like that was it was fantastic, man. And I remember I listened to
Hmm.
it about a year or two ago. And one of the biggest things, I'm not going to go too much into it, because I try, of course, trying to stay on track. But talk about dopamine, difference between motivation and discipline, and all that kind. It was
Yeah, yeah.
fantastic. But anyways, as you're seeing with Healthy Gamer, keep going.
Yeah, but yeah, he that's what he talked about in a lot in his videos. It's a mindset change. There's not any like specific action to really find discipline, to really find resolve. It's really about thinking things over, about what things mean to you, what sacrifices you're willing to make in order to do certain things. And I mean that was something I was willing to do. I was willing to put aside the things that I enjoy doing. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy doing them.
Yeah.
Like playing video games, I enjoy. I'm probably not gonna stop playing video games, but occasionally something comes up where it's like important enough where I'm like, okay, I want to put this aside. I want to learn this. I want to get better at this because it's more important to me.
It's part of the
And I
greater
mean,
goal.
that's about it.
It's a sacrifice for the
Yeah.
greater goal. Fair enough. So that
Hmm.
that that brings me to ask. So on the days that you don't feel like doing it, how do you go about doing it? Like, right, you don't feel like say you wake up like linear regression. I don't want to do linear regression today, or anything that kind of anything that kind of pushes you towards that goal. Say we talked about you're interested in going to grad school, or just
Yeah.
general blanket. The AI development, becoming better at your craft, better at what you do. How do you go about those days, or what do you do on those days that say you're just like, I don't want to do this, or I don't like feel like doing this? How do you go about handling that?
Well, some days, like, I don't know, maybe you are just mentally, physically exhausted, like maybe, I don't know, you read a lot the previous day, you worked out a lot the previous day, you're doing a lot of stuff. And it's okay to take breaks. Like, there's nothing wrong with taking breaks. Um, but the important thing about taking breaks, and this is something I have to work on myself, is when you take a break, not to do things that are sorry, do things that are still you still see as quote unquote productive, still quote unquote helpful, right?
Yeah,
That are still important to you, basically. But not to do things that like if you sit down and do it, you're gonna get carried away. You're just
carried
gonna keep
away,
going.
like doom
Like for
scrolling.
example, like yeah, yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Like if I wake up and my goal that day is to get all my psychology work done that I
yeah.
don't want to do, may or may not be today. Just saying, hypothetical here.
Okay.
Um, it's a very bad idea for me to like after I'm done with like half my work, I think, to go sit down and play some games or go do something that I know like I tell myself, okay, I'm only gonna sit down and do this for an hour, but very well could go over an hour.
Well over hour.
I think
Okay.
it's a lot better to like, yeah, to find smaller things to do that are like they're still important to you. You still feel like you're doing something that like you can sit down do for a little bit, but it's less exhausting. So like for example, um, after lectures or whatever, after like taking notes, doing my online lectures, um, very nice thing to do. Just go take a walk. It's
Okay.
something that is like you're going outside, you're getting fresh air, you're getting sunlight. It's good. Health is important to me. So afterwards, I come in and I don't regret taking a walk, even if it does go for an hour or goes over an hour. I'm like, well, maybe I overdid it, but like at least I enjoyed it. At least I can look back on it and be like, no, I needed this. Or maybe I could read a book. Like read a machine like read one of my textbooks I'm trying to read. You know what I mean? Even if I
Right.
go over it, I'm like, it was worth it. You know what I mean? Can't say the same if I go and sit down and I'm playing a game, and I go over. I'm like, I kind of wish I don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So that's
Yeah.
definitely big. I mean, I think one of the biggest, well, let's kind of break it down a little bit more. The Pomodoro technique is a typical study method that
Hmm.
people tend to employ, and it kind of goes about, you work for like 45 minutes or 25 minutes, right? So you work for 45 minutes, you take a break for
Hmm.
15 minutes, or you go for 25 minutes, you take a break for 5 minutes, and you just keep on doing that in rounds and rounds and rounds because, as they say, the more you work, the quality of work goes down. Apparently, when you go take that break, you get up again, take a break, you come back at it, you're much more fresh. Your levels can keep on going and be sustainable, right? But now the thing
Exactly.
is, the hardest part itself, you'd be surprised. The hardest part itself is not actually the 25 minutes of work, but it's the 5 minutes or 15 minutes of break because
It's
of staying, being able to
hmm
first of all stay 5 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever time you're gonna go for, and come back to what you were doing. That part, oh my goodness, is
hmm
difficult, man. It's difficult because
yeah.
especially if you look at nowadays, because I think typically one of the big things, people say, let me take a scrolling break, a doom scrolling break, right? Once you hop
Hmm.
on that doom scroll, man, forget it, bro. Once you hop on that, it's very difficult to the momentum, especially the momentum is lost, right? So
Yeah.
I really like about.
Another thing. Yeah.
No, you can go. You're good.
But oh, sorry, did I cut you? Oh,
No,
but
not at
I
all.
was gonna say another thing about that. Okay, okay. But another thing about that is this I only really do if I have a large window of time open. Is if I really don't feel like doing something, you know, I'll pair that with something I do feel like doing. Like the other day, I was working on a little project of mine in C++.
Okay.
Or at least I wanted to, but I was watching a movie. I was like, man, I kind of don't feel like watching this movie.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep watching stuff. So I just brought over my laptop and started working on it. And then over a period of time, the movie started annoying me. So I shut it off. So you see what I mean? So like even when you're tired, um, and I don't know, maybe it's just one of those days. It's just a sluggish day. You can do something like that. Pair something that you feel like doing, but maybe you probably shouldn't with something that you want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. So it's kind of,
Yeah.
but so then how would you balance that? Say like, because essentially what you say be multitasking, right?
Mm.
Would you
Yeah.
say, for example, I'm not the best multitasker? How would I? How would you suggest going about? Because obviously, some people have the fantastic ability to do both, and obviously, there's both sides to the
Yeah.
coin. People like, oh, multitasking is very good for you, or people like, no, don't do it. Multitasking is bad for you. There's both very
Yeah.
valid sides to both arguments. Obviously, I don't feel like sitting down arguing about which one is better. That can, I don't know, that can be for another day if it happens. But
Hmm.
how would you say, like, people that struggle with multitasking? What would you suggest instead?
I would actually argue that the idea behind that is actually um, to eventually not multitask. So
Hmm.
maybe to start multitasking, but then eventually end up not doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that I forget exactly what exactly it was called, but essentially, what I've heard is that when you set things up to do something, you're more likely to do it. So like if I wake up and I don't feel like doing my work, right? What I'll do a lot of the times is I'll walk over, I'll put up my computer, I'll like get everything on my desk ready to do work. I'll even log in and everything and keep my laptop open, logged in. So
Yeah.
even if I go do something else, it's just the idea of my that laptop being on and my work ready to be done that kind of makes me want to go over and just do it already. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
So yeah.
no,
So like
you're
when
saying.
I'm sitting there like watching a movie with my laptop and like Visual Studio open on my lap, eventually I just feel like, I just working on it. So
Right.
like even if I'm getting distracted by the movie, eventually I'll be like, it's kind of distracting. I don't feel like watching this movie anymore. And I just turn it off, you know?
Yeah, man. That's a definitely good point because
Yeah.
you're putting it in a way that, all right, you don't. It's literally in front of you, right? And you're
Hmm.
kind of setting up in a way that you can't miss it. If you have to go through all the obstacles to try and set it up, yeah, all right, it's gonna be hard. But like you said,
Yeah.
you just got rid of all the obstacles already. It's there. You must as well just get it done,
Hmm.
right? And I feel like it's those small things, right? And I know that we did chat a little bit before, about mindset, right? And one of the big things
Hmm.
that you said that people will tend to overlook is the small things within your progress. Like, can you break down
Exactly.
how what's your thought about that? And what does that mean to you?
Well, one thing I realized while in college was that it's well, for this is an example, by the way, was that it was a lot easier to study um, if I just physically felt good. Like I was well rested. I hadn't been eating bad. I hadn't been eating like a lot of like bad food.
Yeah,
I used to go crazy at the with waffle fries at the at the
bro.
dining court. I had to stop doing that. That
Those
was
dining
so
halls,
bad
man, it
for
get
me.
it gets
Yeah.
bad, man.
It's too much temptation, bro, sometimes. But and when I started going to the gym as well, that's something else I started doing in college. I didn't used to go to the gym, but I started going to the gym and I realized, man, I just felt physically better. I felt more confident. Um, and just feeling physically better about myself made studying easier. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like when you're
Yeah.
well rested and you're eating well and you've been exercising, like you just feel better in general. So studying's gonna be easier. So that's an example of like just small things, like just taking care of yourself, is going to help you out. That also goes for, emotional and mental health as well.
Hmm.
If you're all over the place mentally, it makes it harder to focus on your goals
Yeah.
and to focus on the things that you want to do. So that's another thing that's important. And that's something that I think, it's very easy to overlook because a lot of the times like you'll be so focused on what you want to do, like I gotta do this, I gotta do this. But it's like it's almost like trying to like get to the other end of the hall when there's like a bunch of booby traps in the way. Like like it's gonna be a lot harder if you don't deal with the traps first, my boy. So,
Right.
so that's what I meant when I said that.
So small. Wow. That's cause. Wow. That's that. I think that's a lot of one thing people tend to overlook, man. People really overlook,
Yeah.
especially. I like the part you mentioned about your physical health, right? You know how
Hmm.
fantastic it is, like to just your body's a temple essentially, right? You gotta take care of your body, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Hmm.
it will surprise you, right? And one thing that I love to do, I like to like study leaders, CEOs,
Hmm.
top directors, right? Especially when I was younger, maybe I would spend like a video,
Yeah.
spending like a video day watching about. All right, let me learn about this guy. Let me learn about this guy, right? Like some of the top 1% of not just like in terms of wealth. I don't really. That's not really a crazy thing for me, but rather just about like in the
Hmm.
impact on the world, right? You'd be surprised. I'm
Yeah.
telling you. Actually, I don't think it's very surprising, but every single one of the people that I would study and learn about had some kind of physical activity or importance of physical well-being within their schedule,
Yep.
right?
Hmm.
Because your health is wealth.
Because it's important. Yeah.
It's so it's so
Exactly.
important. It's so important, and I especially even me myself because I'm a soccer player, right? I've always loved to play soccer. But then when I get to college,
Hmm.
I'm not necessarily playing soccer as competitively as I was in high school, right? So now you kind of have
Hmm.
to be like looking at it like, damn, like you had all this structure all these years, going to practice, playing every single day, playing. Next year, I'm gonna hopefully be playing with the club team, so that would definitely be a good way to get
Yeah.
back into competition wise. But this, at least this past year, it's been like damn, it's I think that's consistent, right? Because I had a stint.
Hmm.
I played with the varsity team for a little bit, couple of months. I left that, and outside of that, it's like damn, you have to go so much out of your way to make sure you're having good health, right, and taking care of yourself. And it doesn't have to be just getting
Hmm.
up and go like just crunching iron the whole entire time, right? Because people are like, oh, you have to go lift iron,
Exactly.
pumping iron. It can be as simple like you said earlier, taking a walk, right? Going outside and
Yeah.
moving, getting up from your chair and getting active because that health in physical activity and just keeping active is it will make the difference. I promise anyone right now, right? If you're
Hmm.
listening to this, I promise anyone here right now, if you just focus on your health for like 30, actually, I don't like to say 30, 100 days, right? 100 days in a row, right? This it's very possible. You don't have to be like doing like hardcore workouts every single day, but you can still, because obviously you need to make sure you're resting, right? Because rest is also important too.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there is still a way that you can go each day 100 day keeping some kind of physical activity that won't lead to burnout or lead to some kind of muscle fatigue, right? Say if I work out for two
Hmm.
days in a week, I walk around or just do some light walking or running, right? So it's very possible and feasible to stay active. If you stay active for 100 days, I promise you your life is going to change. Everything around you will get better 100%. Whether it's in school, whether it's the money you're making, whether it's your work, whether it's anything you're learning, your life is going to get better because health, dude, is so important, man. The physical activity, because especially, in just like the challenge part, the mindset part, right? For example, one thing I love to do, I love to run, right? I love to go. Actually, I've discovered recently I do love
Hmm.
to run outside because I play soccer, right? And like I always think like,
Yeah,
damn,
yeah.
like okay, I played soccer, right? But the idea of running outside of soccer, that doesn't make no sense to me. Other than like say like I'm training for the mile or just like training for physical tests, just for fitness, right? For soccer related purposes. But in general, people that just get up and just run forever, like I'm like, dude, like what's the matter with you, right? Like that don't make no sense to me, right? But
Yeah, they're not chasing a ball. What are they doing,
it don't make exactly. It didn't make no sense. Like, bro, what are you
man?
doing?
It don't
Right?
make no
It
sense.
don't make sense. It never made sense to me. But I
Yeah,
remember how one day it was after work, right? I'm like, damn, I had
yeah.
a long day, and I was fasting too. This was during the month of Ramadan. Like, I'm tired, like I just came from work.
Hmm.
I have all the assignments and stuff. But I'm like, I'm gonna just go run, right? I'm like, I don't know. I just felt that runner's high, and I ran like 5 miles.
Hmm.
Right, I ran around the whole RIT campus. I went outside the campus, and I ran. I came back to my dorm. It felt amazing, man. After not just like the
Hmm.
physical effect, my legs were like, yo, they were jelly after that thing. When I'm telling you, yo, when I tell you I couldn't walk, yo, I couldn't walk, right? But just the feeling of like that you completed that, the physical activity when you completed it, and second of all, if I just ran 5 miles while fasting, right? You're gonna tell me that any
Hmm.
computer science home assignment that I have, any discrete math assignment that I have, any calculus assignment is gonna be harder than what I just did?
Exactly.
No way. If you're telling me that you're
Exactly. That's. Hmm.
if you're
No,
telling
you
me
go.
that
You
you're
go.
if you're telling me that you're lying, like, I don't believe you if you're telling me that, right? That if you were to tell me like if you were to tell me like, all right, you have to do for $100, right? Get two calculus problems correct. Say like I'm doing okay, some calculus two concept like what? Okay, McLaurin series, you know, give me two McLaurin
Hmm.
series, right? Or run 5 miles. You know what I'm talking about? I'm taking the McLaurin series 2 days, 100 days out of 100. You know what I mean? That's easier, right? So just having that
Hmm.
mindset, like, damn, I just completed this hard accomplishment physically. I can do anything from there. Nothing's gonna stop me, and that ball just keeps on rolling from there.
Exactly. And that's why I believe the small things matter because exactly what you said. Those things fuel your other ambitions. Like if you can say to yourself, I'm going to be a healthier person. I'm going to, clean up my diet. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to do whatever it is. A simple thing. Maybe it's difficult, but the process to do it is relatively simple. Going to the gym and lifting weights, it can be very difficult, but it's simple, right?
Right.
um, bringing yourself up to that standard and raising your standard and then living up to what you said you're going to do, what you intended to do, even if it's something small like that, even if it or I should say small comparative to whatever else you want to do, I should say,
Okay.
right? Like living healthier, that like it would be an example. um, that shows that you can improve, and that's a significant thing. Like when I was in college, and and I started going to the gym. I only went like maybe twice a day, or sorry, twice a day, twice a week. Sorry, I'm
Damn, my
Jesus.
fault, Iron Man.
I went, yeah, I was like, I'd be looking a lot better if I went twice a day right now. But I was only going twice a week. I was like, oh, that's not really that much. But over time, as I was going more and more, I was like, I saw it as a sign of improvement. I saw that as evidence that I saw something, I decided I want to do it, and I accomplished what I intended to do. That shows that I have the ability to improve, not just in this, but in other things that matter even more to me. So I think what you said when you said that, yeah, that's very significant.
Yeah, that's I agree again. That's it. Just goes to show how doing well in say in that health, that physical aspect, can not just in that, but it will also improve other disciplines, as you mentioned before, right?
Mm,
So that's fantastic advice that everyone listening to this right now definitely should keep an account to. But like in terms of other advice, right?
mm-hmm,
Say you are walking into campus, right? Very very first,
okay.
as soon as you get on campus, you take a step there, and someone comes running to you, sprinting full speed. We're talking Usain Bolt type speeds, right? Running at you because they want to tell you important advice. One thing they can only tell you one thing, right?
Okay.
What would that thing be that would be the most helpful for anyone listening to this?
Man, I don't know.
Say in terms of like
I
in
really
terms of
don't.
like campus, like college life in general, right? Or like how you got into AI, that kind of stuff. Anything about that.
I would say into college, I would say, man, that's hard. For college, I think I don't know exactly what I would say, but I would say don't underestimate what you can get. Not what you can get. That makes it sound parasocial. The type of benefits that you can get from meeting other people and stuff like that, right? Like
Right.
what you can learn from other people. Like I learned a massive amount from the people I know.
So reach out. Don't be, and like I said
It's
before.
yeah,
Yeah, like you said
and
before.
it's not just
Reach
that,
out.
of course. Yeah, yeah, reach out. But
And
yeah, it's not just that, but also just looking for good company as well. Like one thing I noticed about being over here during the summer is that it can get very very easily get lonely, right?
yeah.
Um, if all your friends are busy, they're working, they're doing other stuff, you get lonely. So finding good company and people who you like being around and who like being around you, um, the value of that cannot be spoken of more highly. It's really important.
So how would you say, that company, well, kind of taking that company, right, and moving it over. So, you took
Mhm.
in some pretty difficult classes, right? For example, programming in C.
Sure. Yeah.
That's not easy. Linear algebra, calculus 3, data engineering,
Mm-hmm.
data ethics, cognitive psych. We were talking about that a bit earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
So of those classes, right? Say like, you mentioned earlier those people that were in your classes, you can reach out to, chat with them. But like more focus on the
Yeah.
classes itself. What would you say was like the most humbling class of all the classes that you've taken so far? Like which one like really
Open Java.
open Java? Okay.
Yeah, object oriented programming in Java. The reason I say it was most humbling was because I mean you were on robotics, we programmed in Java.
Right.
So and this was like my first. I consider it my first CS class because that was like the first CS lecture I attended. It was one of those huge lecture halls with like hundreds of people in it.
Right.
And because it was in Java, I was like, yeah, this will be easy. So when the exam came around, I was like, yeah, this will be easy. And I got a D.
Oh.
That's not very good. I did technically okay. I got a 69.
Wow.
Nice, but so technically that's average. Yeah,
Wow,
because
that's
for
the
with these
average.
CS courses, yeah. Um, of course, I'm always trying to do better than average, of course, but like
Fair,
for
but
with CS courses, they tend to be lower scores. But that didn't matter to me. I was still upset. But that was probably the most humbling course I took because it showed like it was kind of like a reminder, like, yeah, buddy, you're small fry. You don't know everything. Even if you think you know everything, you don't. Or if you know everything about this specific thing, you certainly do not.
you surely
You
do
can
not.
always, yeah.
Interesting, because
um,
I
yeah.
because I know at those, especially like talking about Purdue, we're talking about top 20 computer science right here. It's not a joke. It's not a joke at all, right?
Mm.
And I find it interesting that people usually take that first that first humbling experience and they let it hurt them, right? And we touched upon this. We
Yeah.
talked about this earlier in the episode. How important it
Hmm.
is to not let that kind of not let that determine your path going forward, right? And also talking about you can't let your past
Hmm.
bring you down, but rather put you in the future, right? And especially in
Yeah.
CS, because as soon as stuff like that happens, all of a sudden, like you feel like, damn, I don't know what's going on. And again, we talked about earlier, it feels like everyone knows what's going on except for yourself, right? But what I
Hmm.
find interesting about that, right? And people feel all the time. Even I felt it. I've been programmed for quite a bit, and I felt that at first coming into RIT. I would definitely wouldn't say RIT like intro to CS courses are anywhere near that kind of difficulty. Like I know it doesn't. I've heard from other schools, NJIT. I've heard from again talking to you Purdue. I've had some friends at
Hmm.
Cornell. It doesn't really amount to that, but there's definitely so you learn some important concepts. For example, the big things was like algorithms, right? You have DFS searches, you have
Yeah.
BFS, and all that kind of stuff. I had no idea how that stuff works, right? And at first, it's like for the first time,
Hmm.
like damn, I don't know what's going on here. Everyone here knows what's going on and all this kind of stuff. But if it's one thing I,
Hmm.
I want I want to say, right, that people should keep in mind, right, especially for those CS students out there, you realize how much people don't know as well, certainly as much as you are. And how I notice this, right? It's
Yeah.
actually pretty interesting how I know this, right? You have to listen to the keyboard typing. The keyboard typing, the keyboard. I listened. I started paying attention to this, right? At first, in the beginning, because we
Hmm.
have our activities, right? So the first activity was like write a
Yeah.
class. Everyone can write a class, right? That's easy. You're just writing a class, right? You hear,
Hmm.
brrrr, you hear the whole entire class typing away, everything. We're going down to more, right? Things get a bit more difficult. You notice how much the typing gets quieter and quieter. Each time the new activity comes, it gets a bit harder, you know?
Hmm.
So I'm looking like, damn, it comes to like, all right, here. If we done this, write your own breath first search by yourself. Crickets. Absolute crickets. You don't hear anything, right? So at first I'm like, damn, I might not know what's going
Yeah.
on. But okay, maybe people don't know what's going on too. So that's always a little lesson I always like to
Yeah.
tell people, like, especially kind of get into CS, especially taking their intro to CS courses. It always feels like I'm the only one that doesn't know what's going on here, but that's never the case. No, typically a lot of, I would say 95% of class typically doesn't really know what's going on, so
Hmm.
that's
But even in that situation, I mean, that's often the situation. But let's say hypothetically, you are the only person out of hundreds of students who doesn't know what's happening.
correct.
Even in that situation, um, there's the only thing that you could do is to learn more.
Right.
Like don't just allow your emotions to overwhelm you and for you to doubt yourself, thinking that you can't improve. The best thing to do in that situation is to just improve, and that's where learning from others comes in. If everybody around you knows what they're doing better than you, then that's a great opportunity for you to learn from them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk about learning, right? If you to go
Hmm.
back to the beginning, right? How would say someone that's trying, because obviously, you're kind of getting your foot into this AI door. You've done some fantastic things, especially with the Bird CNN. Some of your involvement within machine
Hmm.
learning at Purdue, right? So obviously, okay, it might be the start, but you've done so much though, right? You cannot understate it, right? You are definitely
I wouldn't.
you.
I wouldn't.
trust me, right? You're in a really good position right now, right? And I think a lot of people can learn from that. And obviously, so I'm trying to interested in, like, say someone's trying to get into that position, right? Trying to learn AI. What advice would
Okay.
you give to them? That's like, what advice would you give someone that's trying to get into AI, trying to learn about it?
Uh, just do it. Don't overthink it. I would just, of course, it all starts with like making a plan of like how exactly you're going to go about learning it, and whichever thing you decide to do, just do it, you know? Like if you want to read books to get more background on it first before you make something, sure. But just make sure that when you read through it, um, you're not worrying about understanding every little thing with tech books. A lot of the time, if I'm reading like a very complicated book, I don't understand everything, but you just got to keep reading it. And of course, as I said before, you never know. Just seeing it the first time could be enough for when you see it the second time somewhere else. You already have a background in it, and then you'll finally be able to understand it.
And it'll click.
So if that's mhm. So if that's where you want to start, do that. If you want to go into immediate implementing stuff, um, do it as well. Like I don't know, just it doesn't really matter exactly how you start, just so long as you start and you keep with it, and so long as you're invested. Um, because the thing is, whenever you get stuck, um, I don't want to say there's always a way out because that makes it sound like you're gonna stop doing it. But there's always a way to get there's always a way to get unstuck. It's like when you're making something. When you're making a program, like this C thing I'm making right now. It was using WX widgets. That's a GUI library.
Okay.
I don't know how to write. I didn't know how to write in C++ when I started making it, and I definitely didn't know what the heck WX widgets was when I started making it. But it's all just about getting stuck, like trying to do something, getting stuck, and then find ways to get unstuck. There's resources everywhere. Just, if you ever get to the point where you're really unsure, look it up. There could be a book, there can be an article about it. Worst comes to worst, you use an LLM like a search engine to, find even more resources. That's what I often do.
Because there's a will,
And,
there's a way.
yeah, exactly. And so long as you keep doing that, so long as you're in the practice of getting stuck, getting unstuck, that process, you're going to be learning like the entire time. Yeah.
So something neat, right? Is that obviously,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you work with AI, but you are not an AI yourself. You're not an LLM. You're not an NPC.
Mm-hmm.
You're not none of those things. And I'm afraid for the day that comes where I will be interviewing AIs and that kind of stuff, just like how you're doing right now. That'd be kind of scary, but I ain't worried about that right now. So my question to you is,
Mm-hmm.
right? So obviously, there's more to you outside of school, AI, that kind of stuff. If you gave me your
Sure.
resume, right? What are some things that are outside of your resume? Some hobbies, passions that make you who you are that I would miss on the resume that also could help contribute to your ability to do well in what you do.
I mean, I think this goes for everybody, but the people I know, and the people in my life, definitely. I mean, obviously, you can't put that on resume,
Right.
but you
Who
learn.
would you say
As I
has
was saying,
who would you
mhm.
say has made the biggest impact so far? That's helped you so far.
Biggest, well, definitely my parents. That I mean, yeah, that they instilled in me the idea of you know what it means to work hard. They both worked very hard, and that's probably one of the biggest motivations. Trying to prove them proud because they worked very hard to be where they are right now. My dad, he grew up on a farm in Cameroon. He went to secondary school in Italy. He came here to get his PhD and all that. So he worked from a very difficult background, and even then, he's found a lot of success. My mom as well. She worked herself through college. She was working a full-time job while in college. Like there was no one to pay for college.
Wow.
Um, and even then, very successful. So I look to them as examples. If they can do it, I certainly can. I mean, I'm
Right.
pampered, buddy. Like, I you know, they work very hard to give me a privileged life. So, I wanna put it to good use. So, um, yeah, those are probably the two people who impacted me the most. Definitely, absolutely.
Dude, that's absolutely amazing, man. And I'll tell you this right now, you know, they're definitely proud, 100%, man. You're onto some amazing
Thank you.
things, and I just can't wait because obviously I want you on the guest again of the podcast. I want you to come back, right? So that kind of begs me, right,
Yeah.
to ask like this upcoming school year. what are your goals? What are you hoping to accomplish? So maybe next year if you come back again, or maybe a couple months, or whenever you come back on the podcast again, what are some things that you are looking forward to doing this year, coming up school year, and of course not just this school year, but maybe in the next 2, 3, 4, you know,
Well, of course, seeing my friends on campus again, of course.
of course.
That and projects. I really want to get more involved in the clubs that I kind of joined, but then didn't do a whole lot in. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
want to get more involved in that. There's also some personal projects I want to finish up. They're like small ones. Yeah,
Give
just
an
small
example.
stuff.
What's an
I
example
want
of
to
one?
finish. Oh, an example.
Yeah.
So I wanted to learn. My mom's Igbo.
Okay.
That's a tribe in Nigeria.
Right.
Um, that's the language that they speak. It's also called Igbo, by the
Evil.
way.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to learn it, right? So I got a book, um, and I was like, there's so much vocab, and of course it's an African language, so like very difficult to go from that to English.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to make note cards for it, but I don't want to spend 10 years writing note cards. And I remembered what my C professor said, where he was like, basically, he didn't want to use Brightspace. That's like the platform that a lot of the other courses used to like organize like all the content in the course.
Yeah.
Instead, he made his own platform. And I was like, what? That's cool. Instead of like just using a note card app, I think I just want to make my own thing, my own basic like GUI. So that's one thing I'm working on. That was the thing I was talking about with C++ and WX widgets, because I just want to, learn C++. So that's just one little thing. I was gonna do that and uh, be able to like put in all the words that I see in the book and create a little practice application for myself. So that's one little project um, I'm currently working on. I'm trying to finish that up before the semester, and it's not gonna be impressive at all, but I don't know. I've learned a lot from it so far, which is the main reason I'm doing it.
That's absolutely amazing. I love that. I love that so much. You don't even know, because especially like
Yeah.
African language is very difficult. Especially
Mhm.
you look at Google Translate, you have like what's it called? You have your Spanish, you have your Portuguese, French, right? It's so difficult in terms of African language. It gets much more difficult because I'm Fulani,
Yeah.
right? I'm Fula, right?
Mhm.
And with the Fula language, one difficult thing is that there's so much words and definitions that you just can't really translate into English itself, right? For
Mhm.
example, like one
Yeah.
word I always find funny, right, is the verb "dudugol," right? It means to be a lot of something, to be
Mhm.
many of something, right? It's a verb that says there's a lot of something. You know how in English we say like we use an adjective. There's a lot. There's this
Yeah.
many. There's a lot of this. There's a lot of that. But in Fula we use a verb
Mhm.
to do it. Ibn Adudi. There's a lot of people.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But we use a verb to describe it. How do you put that into English, right? So obviously,
Mhm.
like online translators like Google Translate make it a bit difficult to actually kind of learn these languages, and of course, the resources available is a bit difficult. Bar the books that we have, and bar the books that we have for that, right? So I think it's absolutely fantastic that you are creating an application. And please, man, when you finish the application, send it to me, bro. Like I'm trying to check that out because
Oh yeah.
it definitely can be tweaked for other languages too, because there's so much. One of the big things, right? We don't want
Mhm.
to, especially us being from Africa, right? We don't want to lose our culture. We don't lose our
Yeah.
heritage. And the one of the biggest things for
Exactly.
that is language, right? The language is so crucial. Language is
Mhm.
so important. We can't afford to lose that, because if we lose that, we start losing who we are as a people, right? So
Exactly.
so to be able to create a tool that will not just help you, but the amount of impact that it can have on many people. And I think at the end of the day, this is why we do what we do, because of the impact, right? It's what we can do
Mhm.
to make the world a better place. It's what we can do to help people make things better, right? Because if you think about it, right, we're gonna make money, right? That's one thing. We're obviously gonna make money, right? That's kind of a given. Obviously, if you continue doing your stuff,
Yeah.
you get a degree, you get a decent job, or start your own company, and you make relatively smart financial decisions, you're going to have money, right? But
Mhm.
at the end of the day,
Especially in STEM.
especially in STEM, exactly. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like you can make so much money, but like after that, right? What's next, right? You can buy the cars you want to, you can buy the houses you want to, you can do, but what's next, right? And I think the what's next aspect of it, in terms of impact in the way you can impact and help people, carries so much more value than what you can like just get with like a paycheck or some money, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that at the end of the day, this is why do we do what we do? And that's exactly, for example, like why I'm starting this podcast, because of the impact I can have on people, right?
Mhm.
I'm thinking like, okay, I'm in
Yeah.
cybersecurity, you know, I love doing my red teaming stuff, reverse engineering, I love vulnerability research, all that fun stuff. I can do that for my career, but once I do my career, I do my stuff, and outside of work, like what am I actually doing to actually make myself, and not just myself, but have an impact on people that can actually benefit, make the world a better place, right? So
Mhm.
that project is fantastic, man. You know, and at the end of the day, this kind of is why we show up. It's why we're here for, to build projects and things that will help people. You know, like you said, that was one of your
Mhm.
inspirations for starting getting into AI, machine learning, is to build machines, build tools, and help people,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man. So that was
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. There's so much things that, especially for the first episode, wow, this is absolutely fantastic, man. And if you are here so far at this point, kudos to you. You've definitely just spent probably one of the best hours you spent in a very long time listening to this, because there's so much wealth of information. That's why I knew as soon as I saw it, like thinking like, yep, Derek, I get Derek on the podcast. I knew it. I'm already like, I'm jumping. You know, I remember I called you on the phone that day when you said, "Yeah, you know, let's do it." Oh, I was so excited because I know this is gonna be a fantastic episode, and I'm sure we both can agree that looking back on, you know, things that we talked about, it was definitely, we covered so much that would have been a great resource. Say like if me and you were getting started in
Mhm.
school, that would have been a fantastic resource that we don't really have to learn on our own. You know what I mean? Because experience is the best teacher,
Absolutely.
but at the end of the day, if you can
Yeah.
create
Yeah. Of
experience,
course.
that's obviously better. But again, Derek, you know, I just want
Yeah.
to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your advice, your tips, your information, your insights. Everything you provided today was absolutely fantastic, and it's truly, truly appreciated. Is there anything else you want to say before
Of course.
we close out for today?
Nah, man. Just that it was great to be on. I had a lot of fun. Uh, if there's any opportunity to come back on, bro, just let me know.
No,
It was great. I really
it's not
appreciate it,
about
man.
if there's any opportunities, when there's an opportunity, because there definitely
Of
will be an
course, bro.
opportunity. Yeah. So yeah, man. Again, if you're watching at
Yeah.
home, thank you. Well, not watching, listening at home. Thank you so much for tuning in for today. I'm your host, Mahmoud Duba. Had a great conversation here with Derek McTume, and I'll catch you in next week's